Hey everybody, Danny Davis, the Austin American-Statesman, joined by Thomas Jones, this is Longhorn Confidential for Friday, August 2nd. Thomas, it's almost the weekend, but before we go into the weekend, do whatever you have, whatever's on the to-do list, whatever party plans you have. I think we should talk a little bit about the Texas football team and first week of practices. Texas returned to the practice fields this week, opened up fall camp, even though it was technically started in July. We're going to call it fall camp on Wednesday, also practice on Thursday. Supposed to practice in a couple hours this evening on Friday. But we were able to go out to two practices this week. Went out on Wednesday. We're out there for an hour. They opened up the practice window for what may have been a record for the time I've been on this beat, and that goes for Charlie Strong, that goes for Tom Herman, that goes for Steve Sarkisian. That was a
Yeah,
long practice window that they opened up on Wednesday.
glad I
Thursday,
wore a hat.
yep. Thursday may have actually been a record short length because we were only there for about two periods, and they said y'all got enough yesterday, so get on out of here. But we also talked to Steve Sarkisian on Wednesday. Talked to four players: C.J. Baxter, Alfred Collins, Jake Majors, Anthony Hill after Thursday's practice. So between those two practice windows, between the interviews we got on Wednesday and Thursday, they gave us tonight off, so we don't have to go back out to Denny's tonight. What did you learn about this team? What stood out? What kind of stood out during this first week of practice to you?
Well, I'm gonna give a little shout out to Sark for calling these practices underwear practices because they're not in pads. So with that caveat, this sounds cliche, but they looked really big and really fast. I mean, simple as that. The defensive line, especially, the O-line's big. The defensive line, you're replacing Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. They just look big. They look deep. They look athletic. They were moving well. And then on offense, I know we've talked about the depth at receiving before. Man, those guys are getting in and out of breaks. They just look fast. The speed across the board really is what stood out to me with that size.
For me, I don't think there was any doubt about this going into this season, but this is Quinn Ewers' team. Um,
Yeah.
both as obviously the third year starting quarterback, but also as a leader. On Wednesday, I found it telling that, when they did their stretch as part of the windows that they opened us up for us, we watched them stretch. But when they were ready to break that stretch, it was Quinn who danced to the middle of the field, did a couple jumping jacks, and broke them all off to their individual practices. There's one point where they were doing this drill where the quarterbacks were handing off to the running backs, and I think it was Colin Page fumbled an exchange. And Colin kind of, local kid, did not want to see that happen,
Yeah.
but he kind of jogged to the other side and got back in line for his next drill. And Quinn was like, "No, come back here. We're going to redo this." And that'd be really easy for Quinn to just move on to the next thing because he's never going to be playing with Colin in a game, a third year starting quarterback with a walk on. But he made Colin come back, rerun the drill, and that shows what a leader is. That you are paying the exact same amount of attention to a walk on running back than you are with C.J. Baxter or Jaden Blue or one of these guys. So since Quinn was the guy who went to media days, and he is the third year starting quarterback. I think we expect him to be a leader, but it was nice to see that in action. And obviously, these guys are responding to that, and that really stood out to me during the first couple of days. This is Quinn's team, and
Yeah.
we know on the field they're going to go as far as he takes them, but off the field it seems like he's definitely leading them as well. Player wise, did anyone stand out? Just individual players? Did you see anyone that you're just kind of like, okay, I see that it is underwear practice, so we didn't get to see the hitting, but who stood out to you?
Gunnar Helm stood out to me. I mean, he's been around a while. The tight end, big kid, 6'6", 250, big Colorado kid. I mean, he's played in 39 career games. So Texas has used him a lot in the run game. He's a very good blocker. What stood out to me is he's moving well. He's super fluid. He's in and out on his routes, getting downfield. And he made a couple of great catches. I mean, he hauled in a one-handed pass from Quinn deep downfield. If he can develop into a receiving threat, everybody's talking about Amari Niblack and some of the young tight ends, Niblack being the guy who came in from Alabama. Gunnar Helm could surprise with his ability to get downfield in the passing game. We know what he's going to do in the blocking game, but if Gunnar keeps developing like he did, he's going to be a threat downfield.
One person we didn't get to see during the spring was Silas Bolden, who
Yeah.
was finishing up his classes at Oregon State. So I was kind of ready to see what he looked like, and he looked the part. He looked really good. I think caught pretty much everything that was thrown to him. They did some one-on-ones. He, caught a deflected pass from while he's going up against Gavin Holmes, the veteran cornerback, beat Michael Taft deep on another route. This is all on Wednesday. So I mean, he looked like
Yeah.
you'd expect for a fifth-year wide receiver who they were very happy to get out of Oregon State. Now, we'll see what happens when the pads are on. I'm a little skeptical. He was on the outside behind Isaiah Bond, who's another transfer from Alabama. I'm a little skeptical that Silas, who's 5'8", 160 pounds, is going to be able to play on the outside in the SEC. But obviously, he has the quickness, he has the hands. We'll probably see him on special teams because he was an all-conference return specialist at Oregon State. So it's just kind of seeing him in the flesh and kind of being like, okay, this is why they went out and got him. So especially since we didn't get to see him in the spring, we got to see Isaiah Bond, we got to see Matthew Golden, both in the spring and also last season when they played Houston. So we kind of knew what those two were about. But kind of seeing Silas Golden in the flesh, it may if you were a fan and you were at practice, you probably were maybe felt a little bit better about this Texas receiving core, just kind of knowing what you saw in the spring and then seeing Silas Bolden up close and personal. But we also had to see what's happened when there's pads on and he's getting hit
Yeah.
in the middle or people are actually being able to jam him and all that stuff.
And he was cat quick on those punt returns, wasn't he?
Hmm.
Really good in those drills.
We did our Longhorn Confidential on Tuesday. It was either Tuesday or Wednesday that we published that, but
Yeah.
we asked a question, hey, what's one question you want answered this week? And maybe it's unfair to say we got answers in two practices, but you talked about kind of wanting to see if any of these receivers were going to kind of grab that starting job, and it's probably a little too early to see that. We got to see Silas, we got to see Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond, DeAndre Moore, Jonte Cook, all those guys get some reps. I wanted to know if this team had they embraced the pressure, had they embraced the role of being the actual hunted, not the we're Texas, everyone's after us, we're a top 5 team and people are really gunning for us, we can't sneak up on anyone. Did you feel you got an answer to that question in these two practices and the couple of availabilities we got?
No, but it's going to be fun thinking about this answer, especially with the receivers. I think we're going to see how that rotation shakes out all the way through non-conference. Ideally, once SEC kicks off, week 3, week 4, they're going to have an idea of what their rotation looks like. But there's 6, 7 guys they're making their case. You mentioned Bolden. I'm telling you, DeAndre Moore. He's a true sophomore. He didn't see any action last year. Big time recruit. He is explosive out of his cuts. I mean, they're all fast. Isaiah Bond's super fast, but I'm telling you, Moore, it just seemed like when he cut and went, he had almost an extra gear that the other ones didn't. So I want to see how he handles, especially as they get the pads on and get into the scrimmages and how he handles more contact. But boy, DeAndre Moore looked good among those receivers.
Yeah, it's really too early to establish
Yeah.
the answer for my question. We're talking about mindset. We talked to 4 players this week, and it's a little tough to get that feeling. Once again, there's kind of out there stretching and running against air, and you're not out there hitting. But I think throughout the spring, the expectations haven't changed since the spring, and throughout the summer when we did get to talk to the guys at media days or to various media opportunities. So I think their mindset's in the right place. We'll see, especially in Colorado State. That Colorado State game kicks off on the 31st, but it's too early to get answers for both of our questions. It may have been a
Yeah.
foolish question on my part in the first place, but it's not the first bad question I've asked in my years on this feed. So it is what it is. But I think the team's mindset's probably in the right place for what it should be during the first week of practice, ahead of what's going to be a much anticipated season over there at Texas. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for us. We just kind of wanted to jump on here, give a couple thoughts about the first week of practice. Like we said, Texas is practicing this afternoon. We will not be out there, which is good because there's a concert going on over at Moody Center, and I did not want to fight for parking as well as as well as work. So that's nice to have a Friday off. But we will be back out there on Monday, I believe it is.
Yep. Monday
You know,
morning.
talk to Steve again and watch some more practice, and we'll jump on here and do a couple more Longhorn Confidentials next week. Hopefully, I think Cedric Golden's gonna be back with us next week. He's gonna be rested off his vacation, so he'll be looking a little bit better than me and Thomas. We're a little tired from this week. That Wednesday practice drained me. That was a lot of time in the sun. But statesman.com for all of our coverage throughout the week, all of our coverage next week. We appreciate you all watching, and we'll see you next week. Deuces.
Bye.